Sergeant Mark here. Welcome, FBI recruit. In order to become an effective agent, you must learn how to infiltrate conspiracy theories. This will require you to master the propaganda and deception techniques of flat earthers. By studying these techniques in real-life scenarios, you too can become an effective FBI agent.
It's just going to be slow and not cooperate because you're live.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
In this scenario, the flat earther has mischaracterized the opponent. We at the FBI like to call this technique mischaracterize to bastardize, even though they know that Earthshine was first discovered by simply tweaking the exposure levels. The flat earth opponent took the time to make a more presentable image. We can use this to our advantage. The layperson will simply not watch the original video and learn the proper context. In this way, you too can become an effective recruit and learn to infiltrate the flat earth movement. The mischaracterize to bastardize technique is a valuable tool to convince flat earthers that you're one of them. Let's listen in as a fellow agent Gish Gallops with a mark.
And he said he had to do that, then he had to take it in another program and do something else, and he had to take another program and do something. I mean, this big, long process he made out of it. And I think he was just doing that for all show because you don't have to go through all that. And this is where I pulled out his image. I actually took the time to pull it out.
In this scenario, the flat earther relies on the faulty short-term memories of the layperson. We at the FBI like to refer to this technique as pigeon memory. You too can employ this technique anytime you need to replicate the techniques of your opponent while also making them look incompetent.
I got in contact with Sean, Red's Rhetoric, and Soundly, and Miles. I had them all. And I got the supposed real photos that Soundly used.
This technique is known as the implicit discredit. You should use this technique anytime the opponent has evidence which obviously crushes your theory. You must first try to discredit the evidence to the layperson. This makes it sound like the evidence is in question, even when it conclusively undermines your claims.
And Soundly sent this to me. He goes, here are the files that have been shared by Sean Hufford or me. Okay, so he's trying to Sean Hufford or me. Well, who shared it?
The irrelevant gotcha can be used to cast a sinister light upon innocent, rational, trivial, and otherwise irrelevant comments made by your opponent. In this case, the flat earther expresses false outrage at the fact that a digital file can be shared by many people amongst many people. However, to the layperson, this casts a sinister and dubious light upon the commenter. Use this technique to subtly attack the character of your opponent. Let's hear what the original commenter had to say for additional context. This is from an interview with the FBI.
This is the Google Drive folder that I created that has all the different versions of the file in question. That's AH1_3659.jpg. We basically tracked the chain of custody of the file. Sean had shared the file by removing metadata of the author. I had shared the file by removing metadata of the author. Those two files were not exactly the same. However,
the digital image in those two files
was exactly the same. So what we did was we collected all of the files in one place so that it was easy access for anyone. Also contained in this Google Drive folder is methods for verifying that the file that you may have is actually one of these files, or at least that the file that you may have is visually identical to one of our original files. And of course we had to create this because Mike Helmick, Anthony Riley, and Glowbusters were all passing files around in which they claimed there were Photoshop tags and 72 DPI overlays, which is
absurd.
You can't have a 72 DPI overlay in a 300 DPI image.
When all of your efforts have failed against an opponent, you are still left with one valuable technique known as doxing.
So he's already not, because we know we know his name. We know Soundly's name. We're not going to give it here.
By doxing your opponent, you threaten exposure of their personal identification on the internet. In this example, our two flat earthers and a third co-conspirator, not in this video, all use the personal name of the artist who took the eclipse photograph. This was an attempt to dox and threaten doxing their opponent. You may at this point realize that the previous implicit discredit is now moot, as the Flat Earthers had the original image all along. However, by carefully applying the Pigeon memory technique, a crafty agent can apply both techniques at the same time.
We'll just keep that private, but he kind of freaked out over that. And their SHA-1 hash codes along with helpful links on how to generate. And so they have already run their images through forensic software.
Relying on the observation that Flat Earth minions will not fact-check their gurus, we can use the false attribution technique. By claiming your opponent has said something they have not, or done something they have not, you can distract away from your own fraud or incompetence.
And when I was on Sean's chat, while he was doing his live video hangout, they said, yeah, we ran them through the forensic photo software and everything. There's nothing wrong with it.
In this example, the false attribution was used to cover up the fact that one player had already admitted to fraud, while other players accused the original commenter of fraud. Even though the claims of our agent and Flat Earther bordered on lunacy, Flat Earth minions will be sure to latch on to the false attribution instead. Let's hear what the original commenter had to say.
So what I did was look up the SHA hash codes to identify specific files that we knew were in fact our files. And we also provided tools such as ImageMagic's compare tool, so you could visually compare a file that you knew was authentic with any file you may have received from Globebusters, Helmick, or Riley.
Even though our agent and the Flat Earther were completely incompetent with SHA codes, an effective agent can rely on the Flat Earther's inability to fact-check false attributions. Often, Gish Galloping with multiple false attributions is even more effective.
And when I was on Sean's chat, while he was doing his live video hangout, they said, yeah, we ran them through the forensic photo software and everything. There's nothing wrong with those photos.
Once again, let's hear from the original commenter.
To be clear, we did not do any photo forensics on our own photographs. We didn't need to do that. That's ridiculous. It was a picture off of a camera. What we did was provide people with the tools to be sure that they didn't get conned by these con artists.
As an agent, once you successfully build your false narrative, issuing a public challenge an hour or more deep into a hangout that no one right-minded would be bothered to watch is a good way to provide a false sense of credibility in the eyes of Flat Earth minions.
Yeah, well, here's the problem, though. We're meant to do that so that we can work out and satisfy ourselves that there's nothing wrong with it. And that's why I'm inviting Soundly or Sean or anybody, Red's Rhetoric. You can have the imagery that we have, and if you can find fault with it, do a video, show us where we're going wrong.
Instead of relying on experts, use big words that make you sound like an expert yourself. In this case, our agent and Flat Earther are both pretending to be photo forensic experts.
Because obviously you can do something with the forensics that we cannot.
Let's hear another example of that interview of the Flat Earth opponent.
Anthony Riley is known for this. He uses management speak, authoritative sounding words like photo forensics. When people throw out a number of weak arguments back to back to back, this is known as Gish Gallop.
It's an effort to establish yourself as the authority on a subject by piling up a number of weak arguments while
Making it extremely hard to respond to all of the different accusations, even though all of the accusations are completely false.
Anthony Riley is constantly practicing Gish Gallop in response to my observations. He's put out numerous videos and made numerous claims and accusations against my observations. But to paraphrase Einstein, if I were wrong, then only one would have been enough. Riley has been shown to be incompetent, and here we are with yet another example.
Excellent job, Agent Riley. You make your country proud. By becoming an expert at these techniques, you too can become an effective agent, just like Agent Riley. Be sure to study. This will be on your final exams.
So I encourage, invite, and totally expect you to do this